Hey, I'm Rosalina. I'm 32 and I'm crushing it as an engineer at Technova, one of the top tech companies out there. Life's good. I just landed this huge promotion leading our new AI division. It's the kind of role most engineers dream about. I'm in my office, finishing up a call with the CEO, when my phone buzzes. It's Mom. Rosie, honey, we're so proud of you. Your father's been telling everyone at his golf club about your promotion. I can't help but smile. Thanks, Mom. It's pretty exciting. We can't wait for the family dinner this weekend. Sarah's insisting on cooking. So sweet of her, isn't it? My stomach flits at the mention of Sarah, my sister-in-law. Oh yeah, super sweet. I hang up, but that uneasy feeling lingers. Sarah, Mark's wife, has never exactly been my biggest fan. Later that week, I'm having coffee with my best friend Jen. So ready for the big family dinner? Jen asks, raising an eyebrow as she sips her latte. I groan. As ready as I'll ever be. You know how Sarah gets. Jen rolls her eyes. Oh, you mean, miss, my fifth failed business wasn't my fault. Yeah, I remember. She's been acting weirdly nice lately. Right? I say, unsettled. She keeps offering to help me with things. It's off. Maybe she's finally growing up, Jen jokes, but we both know better. The night of the dinner arrives, and I'm a bundle of nerves as I pull up to my parents' house. Mark greets me at the door with a grin. There's the big shot engineer, he says, pulling me into a hug. I force a laugh. Thanks, bro. How's the new job? His smile falters for a second. Oh, still getting settled. As we walk inside, I see Sarah in the kitchen, pots and pans scattered around her. She looks up, and for a fleeting moment, I swear there's something dark in her eyes. Rosalina. So glad you could make it, she says, her voice dripping with sweetness. I'm making your favorite, seafood pasta. Thanks, Sarah. That's really thoughtful, I reply, though something about her tone doesn't sit right. As I help set the table, I overhear Sarah talking to my mom. It must be so nice for Rosalina, having everything handed to her on a silver platter, she says, her voice soaked in fake concern. I clench my jaw, swallowing down a sharp retort. This is going to be a long night. During dinner, Sarah keeps slipping in little jabs. Oh, Rosalina, I'm sure your new job is so fulfilling. Some of us have to work in the real world, though. I catch my dad's eye, and he gives me a knowing look. He gets how Sarah can be. As we're clearing the plates, she corners me in the kitchen. Rosalina, she says, her voice low, not everyone gets to be as perfect as you. Some of us have to struggle. I take a deep breath, trying to stay calm. We all have our own paths, Sarah. Your time will come. She lets out a laugh, but there's no joy in it. My time. Please, we both know you'll always be the golden child. The evening drags on, with Dad telling for the third time how he bragged about me at his golf club. And then I said, my Rosie, she's heading up the whole AI division. He beams. I force a smile, noticing Sarah gripping her fork so tightly her knuckles turn white. It's really not that big of a deal, Dad, I say, trying to diffuse the tension. Sarah jumps in, her voice sugary sweet. Oh, don't be so modest, Rosalina. We all know how special you are. Mark shoots her a warning look, but she ignores him. Who wants more pasta? She chirps, already reaching for my plate. I made extra, just for you, Rosalina. Something in her tone makes my skin crawl, but I brush it off. Thanks, Sarah. It's delicious. As I take another bite, I notice Sarah watching me closely, her eyes fixed on my plate. I added a special ingredient, she says with a sly smile. Family secret. An uneasy feeling washes over me as the conversation flows around the table. But as the minutes ticked by, something felt wrong. My stomach churned, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Rosie, are you okay? Mom asked. Concern etched across her face. You look pale. I tried to stand, but the room spun violently around me. I don't feel so good. Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit me like a freight train. I stumbled, knocking over my water glass. Rosal. Dad jumped up, catching me just as my knees buckled. Through the haze of dizziness, I heard Sarah's voice, oddly calm. Oh dear, maybe she's had too much wine. The room became a blur of panicked voices and hurried movement. I felt myself being lifted. Then the cool night air slapped my face. We're taking you to the hospital, honey. Mom's voice sounded distant, like it was coming through a tunnel. Hold on. The car ride was a nightmare of pain and confusion. By the time we reached the ER, I could barely speak. "Please," I gasped. "Something's wrong." The next few hours were a whirlwind of doctors, tests, and growing panic. I drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of conversations. Severe poisoning, unknown toxin, critical condition. At one point, I overheard a nurse speaking to my parents in hushed tones. "We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourselves. The next 24 hours are crucial." Through the fog of pain and medication, one thought circled in my mind. This wasn't an accident. Sometime later, hours, days, I wasn't sure, I woke to find Jen sitting by my bedside, her eyes red from crying. "Oh, thank God," she breathed. "Rosie, we thought we lost you." I tried to speak, but my throat felt like sandpaper. Jen quickly held a straw to my lips, letting me sip water. "What?" I croaked. "What happened?" Jen's face darkened. "The doctors say you were poisoned, Rosie. They found some nasty stuff in your system." Sarah's strange behavior at dinner flashed through my mind. "Sarah," I whispered. "The pasta." Jen squeezed my hand. "I know, I've told the police, but—" She trailed off. "But what?" I pressed, fear gripping me. Jen hesitated. "Your brother, he's not being very helpful. He keeps saying you must be mistaken, that Sarah would never." Anger surged through me, giving me strength I didn't know I had. "Give me my phone," I demanded. "Rosie, don't." "Now, Jen." She reluctantly handed me the phone, and despite her protests, I dialed Mark's number. He answered on the second ring. "Rosalina? Are you okay? We've been so worried." I cut him off, my voice sharp. "Mark, listen to me. Sarah poisoned me. She tried to kill me." There was a long pause before Mark spoke again, his voice cold and distant. "Don't be ridiculous, Rosalina. You're just confused. Sarah would never do something like that. Stop trying to get attention and focus on getting better." The line went dead. I stared at the phone in disbelief, tears stinging my eyes. Jen gently took the phone from my hand. "It's okay, Rosie. We'll figure this out. The police are investigating and the doctors are running more tests on the food samples." As I lay there, fighting to stay alive, one painful thought kept pulsing through my mind. My own family didn't believe me. But I knew the truth, and somehow, some way, I was going to prove it. The next few days blurred together, medical tests, police interviews, and the slow agony of recovery. I was finally moved out of the ICU, but the betrayal I felt cut deeper than any poison. A knock at my hospital room door jolted me from my thoughts. It was Detective Ramirez. "Miss Thompson, how are you feeling today?" she asked, settling into the chair by my bed. "Like I've been hit by a truck," I rasped. "Any news?" Ramirez's expression turned serious. "We've got the toxicology reports back. The levels of thallium in your system, Miss Thompson, it's a miracle you're alive." My heart raced. "Thallium? Isn't that super poisonous?" "Extremely," Ramirez confirmed, "and very difficult to obtain. We also analyzed the food samples from your family dinner. The pasta sauce was loaded with it." I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. "So you believe me now?" "We do," Ramirez said, her voice steady. "And we have enough evidence to bring your sister-in-law in for questioning." Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. I put it on speaker. "Rosalina, what the hell? The police just took Sarah away in handcuffs. What did you tell them?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mark, are you serious right now? I almost died." "This is ridiculous," he spat. "Sarah would never. You've always been jealous of her, haven't you? Always needed to be the center of attention." Detective Ramirez cut in. "Sir, this is Detective Ramirez. I suggest you stop talking and get a lawyer for your wife. She's facing attempted murder charges." The line went dead. I looked at Ramirez, stunned. He still doesn't believe me. Hours later, my parents rushed in, their faces pale and shaken. Mom's eyes were red, her breath hitching as she hugged me gently. "Oh, honey," she sobbed. "We're so sorry. We had no idea." Dad stood next to her, looking away, unable to meet my eyes. He swallowed hard before speaking quietly. "Sarah," she confessed. My heart stopped. "She confessed?" I asked, my voice numb with disbelief. He nodded, his voice a low murmur. "She told the police everything. She said she'd been planning it for months. She was jealous. Jealous of your success, of how proud we were of you. She wanted you gone. The weight of his words hit me like a tidal wave. My own sister-in-law had tried to kill me, out of nothing but pure jealousy. The room seemed to close in, the betrayal suffocating. How could someone I'd sat across from at countless family dinners, shared holidays with, and trusted, harbor such dark intentions? Days passed. My body grew stronger, but the emotional wounds were far deeper. They bled invisibly, a constant reminder of how close I had come to losing everything. One afternoon, Mark showed up. He lingered awkwardly by the door, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. "Rosie," his voice was soft, strained. I don't know what to say. I should have believed you. I should have seen what Sarah was really like. I'm so sorry." A part of me wanted to scream at him, to throw him out, and never see his face again. But I was too tired, too drained to fight. "I need time, Mark," I said, my voice flat. "A lot of time." Tears welled in his eyes as he nodded. "I understand. I'll be here when you're ready. If you're ever ready." As he left, Jen strode in with a determined look on her face. "Okay, boss lady, your medical leave is almost up, and I've got some news from the office." I managed a weak smile. "Hit me," she grinned. "The board was so impressed with how you handled everything that they want to fast-track you for the COO position. I guess nearly dying has its perks, huh?" For the first time in weeks, I laughed. It hurt, but it felt good. "You know what, Jen? I think I'm ready to get back out there. I've got a life to rebuild and a whole lot of success to rub in Sarah's imprisoned face." Jen beamed. "That's my girl. Now let's talk about your triumphant return to Technova. I'm thinking confetti cannons, maybe a marching band." As she rambled on, a spark reignited inside me, the fire that Sarah had tried to snuff out. I was done living in the shadows. It was time to shine brighter than ever. 6 months after the poisoning, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blazer. Today was my first day as COO of Technova, and I was determined to make it count. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jen. "Ready to rock this, boss lady?" I smiled and typed back, "Born ready." Driving to the office, I reflected on how much had changed. Sarah was serving a 20-year sentence for attempted murder. Mark and I were slowly working on rebuilding our relationship, but trust, that would take time. My parents, once so proud, had become fiercely protective, almost to a fault. Walking into Technova, I was greeted with cheers and applause. Linda, our CEO, approached with a wide grin. "Welcome back, Rosalina, or should I say, Madam COO. I shook her hand firmly. "Just Rosalina is fine. Now, let's get to work." The day flew by in a whirlwind of meetings and projects, and by the time the sun set, I felt a strange sense of peace. I was finally where I belonged. As I was packing up for the day, there was a knock at my office door. It was Mark, standing there with a small potted plant in his hands. "Hey, Rosie, I brought this for your new office," he said awkwardly. I hesitated before accepting it. "Thanks, Mark. That's thoughtful." He shifted uncomfortably, guilt still hanging between us. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm trying, Rosie. I really am." I nodded, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. "I know, it'll take time, but I appreciate the effort." As Mark left, Jen popped her head in. "Hey, superstar. Ready for your big date tonight?" I grinned, grabbing my bag. As ready as I'll ever be. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited to live it. I was going to embrace every moment, every challenge, and every triumph. And now, here's a question for you all. If you were in Rosalina's shoes, could you ever forgive your brother for not believing you about the poisoning? Is there a point where family loyalty should have limits? Or should we always leave room for redemption? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to hear where you stand on this one. If Rosalina's story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of overcoming adversity and toxic relationships. Your support keeps these stories coming.